Welcome and thank you for watching. This is the second episode of Dialed In. This is a filtered coffee project where our goal is to dial in a coffee to specific flavor and mouthfeel targets. For flavor, our goal is to extract 20 to 24%. This is a range where the flavor is developed and fully formed. For mouthfeel, we are looking to have 1.2 to 1.4 total dissolved solids in the filtered coffee. This will allow the flavor to have a sufficient weight and a longevity to it. This project is divided into 6 parts, each playing a key role and a personalized approach into dialing in this origin. We'll work to find an ideal water profile and extraction device. We'll give ourselves 6 attempts to reach our flavor and mouthfeel targets. Each video that we present is a narrative of our journey into dialing in one specific origin. As a project with the focus on extraction, we are motivated to analyze our methods at the end. When we completed narratives 2 and 3, we noticed that there were similar problems. We have an idea on the problem and a game plan on how to fix it. We'll go over what we're thinking at the end of this video. We'll be going through our video narratives in a quicker way than usual to cover as much information as possible. Here's our origin introduction to narrative 2. This origin's journey began in South America. It's comprised of 2 varietals, Bourbon, which has a buttery, toffee chocolate, delicate fruit flavor. The second varietal, Catura, is known to have sweet citric notes, maple honey sweetness, and notes of spices. It was grown at an altitude of 1,680 meters above sea level. We'll classify the seed density at a medium level. For the process of removing the seed, the fruit was handpicked at peak ripeness. The skin was deep pulped with the use of water. It was then dry fermented for 35 hours, with some of the mucilage still attached to the seed. The final drying process was done on raised beds for 30 days. Because the seed of the fruit was partially removed with water, and it was also fermented for a period with the fruit mucilage still attached, in the cup we can expect a clean but slightly fermented taste. Here's the important origin information for narrative 3. As in the previous shot, we chose a close-up angle to also demonstrate the roast degree of this origin. The varietal situation here is unique. The origin is from East Africa, and the varietals are an indigenous heirloom. The flavors associated with these heirloom varietals are floral aromas, stone fruit sweetness, and a delicate flavor sensation. It was grown between 1850 to 2100 meters above sea level. This seed for us is in a high density category. This origin was handpicked also at peak ripeness. It was deep pulped with the use of water, and the mucilage was also further removed with water. It was dried on raised beds. The flavor sensation we can expect is a clean and transparent cup. For narrative 2 and 3, we conducted the same process for finding the most complementary water. We tested the origin with 4 different water profiles. We started with distilled water, and then we added lotus mineral droplets. For narrative 2, the second water profile tasted the most complementary. For narrative 3, water profile number 2 also proved most flattering. In each video, after we found a complementary water profile, we then test out the origin with several extraction devices. The first device we tested is the Simplify, which is in the style of percolation. The second device is the Tricolate, which is a hybrid full immersion and percolation. Here's the recipe we performed in narrative 2. Comparing and contrasting both devices, the Simplified tasted the most complementary. Here's the recipe we performed for narrative 3. The Simplify stood out again and tasted most agreeable to the origin. Here are the 6 extraction attempts we did for narrative 2. We first made a grind adjustment from our device testing attempt, from 8.5 to 8.4. The results tasted good, but we definitely felt we could pull more of both flavor and concentration. We're looking to raise the extraction, so we adjusted the grind in a fine direction from 8.4 to 8.3. We also raised the dose from 17.20 to 17.50 to increase the concentration. Unfortunately, our numbers decreased. In our minds, we might have entered the point of diminishing returns, where the coffee particles are so fine and the water is having trouble breaking down those coffee particles, and an uneven extraction is occurring. For attempt number 3, we made a coarser adjustment to hopefully make the particles more soluble. We kept the dose the same, but we raised our water temperature to 212. Our extraction increased, but not in a significant way. Neither did our concentration. To fully know if we had entered the point of diminishing returns, we made a significant fine grind adjustment. We went from 8.6 to 8. We also increased the dose from 17.50 to 18. and we kept the water temperature the same at 212. Our numbers came out better. We achieved our highest extraction percentage, however it's not close to our targets of 20 to 24%. The concentration was, however, though, in our target range of 1.2 to 1.4. The flavor of the mouthfeel has a nice longevity to it. Since our extraction did increase, we decided to do another fine grind adjustment. We went from 8 to 7.7. We kept the water temperature and the dose the same. Our numbers went downward. Extraction fell to 17.35% and our concentration fell to 1.14 TDS. At this grind setting, it appears that this is the point of diminishing returns. For the final attempt, number 6, we went in a coarser direction, 7.9, in the hopes that we'll have a higher extraction than in attempt number 4, where the grind setting was 8 and our extraction was at the highest. Our extraction did increase, but it did not surpass our highest extraction attempt, number 4, which was 18.4%. We extracted 18.24%. This is also below our target range of 20 to 24%. Our concentration of 1.16 also did not reach our targets, which were 1.2 to 1.4. In 6 attempts, we weren't successful in reaching our targets. We gathered some ideas as to why this happened. We move on to narrative number 3, to reach our targets with a new origin, being mindful of what might have made us unsuccessful before. Here are the 6 attempts we conducted for narrative 3. For this origin, the raw lotus number 2 recipe and simplify were the most complementary water profile and extraction device. Here's a quick refresher on the origin information. When we conducted our device attempt, our recipe was 18 grams of coffee to 324 grams of water, our grind setting was 8.6, 210 was our water temperature, and we achieved an extraction percentage of 18.37% and a total dissolved solid number of 1.20. We wanted to raise the extraction from the previous attempt, so we made a fine grind adjustment from 8.6 to 8.3. We kept everything else the same. However, our extraction and concentration decreased by a small margin. Since a finer adjustment created a decrease movement, for attempt number 2 we went coarser from 8.3 to 8.4. We also increased the dose from 18 to 18.10, and we increased the water temperature from 210 to 212. Our numbers improved. Our extraction came out to 18.73% and our concentration to 1.22 total dissolved solids. Our goal is to still continue to reach for our targets of 20 to 24% extraction and 1.2 to 1.4 total dissolved solids. For attempt number 3, we continued our direction and went coarser from 8.4 to 8.5. We kept the dose and water temperature the same. Our numbers decreased minimally. Our extraction went from 18.73% to 18.38, and the concentration went from 1.22 to 1.21. Since the numbers didn't change significantly, for attempt number 4 we did minor changes. We changed the dose from 18.10 to 17.80 to hopefully increase our extraction. The grind and water temperature stayed the same. Our numbers reached a new high level, 19.82% extraction and 1.26 total dissolved solids. The concentration feels ideal and complementary, but the extraction does taste underdeveloped. For attempt number 5, we made a coarser adjustment, 8.5 to 8.6. The dose and water temperature stayed the same. Our extraction did increase, but only minimally, from 19.82% to 19.92%. The concentration didn't sway too much and still feels sufficient. Since a coarser movement proved successful, for attempt number 6 we made another coarse adjustment from 8.6 to 8.7. We also increased the dose from 17.80 to 18 grams. The water temperature stayed the same. Our numbers relatively stayed the same. The extraction percentage didn't increase or decrease, but the concentration did go up from 1.23 to 1.28. The choice to increase the dose ultimately could have stagnated the extraction increasement and also raised the concentration. If we would have kept the dose at 17.80, we probably would have reached 20% extraction. Increasing the dose, minimizing the coffee to water ratio, stagnated the possibility to extract more. In attempt number 5, the dose was at 17.80. The coffee to water ratio was larger. The water had the possibility to extract more. This attempt was where we achieved our highest extraction. An important problem is that in 6 attempts we are not getting close to our extraction targets of 20 to 24%. We would ideally like to be close in our first 3 attempts. We decided to combine these two narratives into one video because our numbers were not close to our targets. We spent some days thinking about why this happened. After deliberating, we came up with 2 theories. The first theory is that the origin had spent too many days off of roast, lost too much CO2, became less soluble, and more difficult to extract. We like to extract the origin a month off of roast. We feel the origin is ideally soluble at this point. In both narratives, they were a month and a half off of roast. This wasn't intentional, but it was the circumstances we were presented with. Our second theory is that the extraction device Simplify. The positives about it first is that it's plastic, it has great heat retention, it has a circular bottom, but it does allow some bypass. A question we asked ourselves is, if there's another device that can give us more heat retention and allow less bypass. A principle of this project is that we're always looking to improve on our understanding of extraction, our methods, and our extraction devices. In both narratives 2 and 3, we were not reaching our extraction targets. It became a difficult task to achieve, and maybe another filtered percolation device could provide us with more heat retention, less bypass, and have the ability to extract more. For narrative number 4, our game plan will be to extract the origin a month off of roast. If Simplify turns out to be the most complementary extraction device during testing, we will keep an eye on our extraction and TDS numbers during our 6 attempts. If our numbers are not close to our targets, we will test the origin with another percolation device and see if our numbers improve. An important point we want to convey is that we're not perfect. We're not masters of dialing in. We're a project that wants to enjoy flavorful coffee that has a longevity to it. We're a project working towards targets that could give us that. We might hit roadblocks, but we would like to take it as an opportunity to learn and become more proficient at dialing in.